Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you watching. Now, I am in exceptional company today. I'm delighted to be joined by the CEO of McLaren Racing, Zak Brown, and the CEO of Entain, Jette Nygaard-Andersen. It's a pleasure to meet you both, to talk to you both. We're going to get a great insight from both of these about their journeys and their careers to date and how you got to where you are. So let's start, Zak, with a little bit of an introduction from you. To those people watching that might not know too much about you, talk to us about what you do and the business that you run.
Absolutely. Great to be here and great to see you again. I'm the CEO of McLaren Racing and ultimately responsible for all of our racing activities, which includes our Formula One team, our IndyCar team, Formula E team, Extreme E team, and our esports team. So we have quite a few racing teams. We're in the business of motorsports. We have hundreds of millions of fans around the world. We have the best partners in the world, and ultimately my role is to get the right people in the right roles and give them the resources, the guidance, the clarity of vision of what we're trying to achieve at McLaren Racing for us, our fans, and our partners.
That's so interesting. And can I ask, how did it start for you? Because you started as a racing driver yourself, didn't you?
I started racing a long time ago in 1991, and I raced professionally from 91 to 2000. But halfway through my racing career, I became good at sponsorship, and not only for myself, but for other racing teams. So as I started the second part of my career, I started a business which was looking after the Entains of the world, so to speak, in all different forms of motor racing. Stopped racing in 2000. That company called JMI at the time then took off, sold a lot of it, I should say, in 2008, a little bit more in 11, the whole thing in 13, and then sold it to a company called Chime Communications, which was a London PLC, became group CEO there, and ultimately missed being 100% motor racing, because that's what I've done my whole life, and got the opportunity to come join McLaren, and it didn't take me long to say, which office can I sit in?
Brilliant, and here we are today. Eh? That's such a remarkable story. What about for you, Jette? Talk to us about how you got into the industry and how you have now come to become the CEO of Entain.
So Entain is a sports betting, gaming and entertainment company. We have 30,000 people across the world. We have a presence in 40 countries, and it includes some of the leading entertainment brands like Ladbrokes or bwin or BetMGM in the US, but my background is really from media and entertainment. So sports have been part of my life the last 25 years. So when I first got acquainted with Entain was when I got a call and asked if I would join the board. And I said, who's Entain? And then I looked up and I saw all these brilliant brands across the world. I knew about media, I knew about entertainment, I knew about sports. And I saw where the industry was going, so I thought that was an amazing opportunity. So I joined the board, and fast forward 1 year later, I was asked if I wanted to become CEO, and yeah, like Zak, I said, where should I sit? So I joined, and it's now 2.5 years ago. So it's been it's been a really, really interesting journey. And I think we've accomplished so much. The industry is changing so fast, so that's really interesting. But I really take with me everything that I've experienced and learned through my career from media and entertainment, and try to apply that when I think about the fans and how do we want to build the brands and how can we think about this industry, maybe not only tomorrow but also 5 years out.
Now, what I find interesting about the both of you is that in general, I'd say time is probably the most precious commodity that we have in life, right? And you guys are stretched from pillar to post. You're so busy. So talk to us, Zak, how do you manage your time and how do you find the time to be the CEO of McLaren Racing as well as everything else that you have to look after?
Well, McLaren CEO is my number one priority. So anything I do that isn't in that capacity, I do in my spare time. You're right. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I spend a lot of time trying to be as efficient as possible in my communications, leaning into the team, delegating. I think technology plays a big role. If I look back at how I started kind of building a Rolodex, you literally hand wrote them in. That's a pretty long and tenuous, and then trying to communicate. So now with our phones and our devices and CRM technology and Salesforce and things of that nature, able to create a lot of volume of work, but I couldn't have done it without technology. So I think technology plays a big role in maximizing how much effort you can get out of a 24-hour workday.
And also, I mean, I was looking at the schedule, the race day calendar now has expanded. And I think it's an unprecedented number of race days now and 6 sprints as well. So with all of that, it must be extremely busy for you.
And that's just Formula One, 24 races, so will be 24 races next year. And then, of course, IndyCar is about 17 races, Formula E similar, Extreme E's less. So, yeah, pretty much live on the road once the season starts. So I think you need to surround yourself with great people and know how to work out of hotel rooms and at racetracks. And again, lean into technology. I think with today's technical world, you can kind of work from anywhere, including planes these days. So in many ways, it's a mobile office.
So Jette, for you, I was having a look at the stats and the numbers. What, 30,000 colleagues you have, nearly? I mean, that's unbelievable. How is it from your perspective in terms of managing everything that you have to do, especially on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's my job, right? I would say the same as Zak. It's my number one priority, and my job is really to lead the 30,000 people across the world. I mean, in a business like ours, but probably in any business, the strategy and what we do is really only going to be successful through the people. So it's my number one priority. It's all about the people. I think the challenge is that for us, we're in 40 countries, so there's always one office that is open. So in that sense, it sometimes become a little bit of a 24/7, but I would say the same thing, manage through technology. I work on planes. I make sure I make the most of the day, and then I think it's really down to prioritization. And therefore, from my side, I need to prioritize the people, think about how can I provide, an environment where they can perform at their best. How can I create the conditions or, discipline or a culture that makes sure that we win. So I guess in that sense, it's not that different from being, managing a high-performing Formula One team.
Absolutely. There's a lot of parallels, actually, a lot of similarities between what you both do. In terms of just having time to switch off, do you get that at all? Is it important to kind of schedule that in the diary as well?
I don't schedule it, but I watch a lot of sports, and then I switch off when I do that, and when you work out in the morning. But that's more or less about it.
Okay, and I guess nobody that's successful in any industry will not have faced challenges and barriers. So Zak, can you talk us about a particular challenge that you've faced in your career to date and how you've overcome it?
Oh, there's been a lot. Some within our control and some out. Certainly COVID was unprecedented. I think for all of us, and that was a problem, the challenge that we all inherited, and you kind of needed to react now. So it wasn't also something that you could really draw on past experience, because furloughing is a term I'd never heard of before.
I don't think anyone had they?
And sending 1,000 people or 1,100 people home on reduced pay and things like that. I mean, it was just crazy. Really happy how we handled it. We were the first team to lean into it. My view was if we were the first team to lean into it, we'd be the first team to get out of it. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Communication was critical. And all the team members were awesome. They understood. This wasn't a challenge that was just on McLaren's doorstep. It was on all of our doorsteps. And at the end of the day, we were trying to protect the company and therefore protect our people. So we made tough decisions. We had a tremendous amount of support. So that one leaps to top of the list of just the size and magnitude of it. And then, of course, working with your partners. All of our partners stood by us because we weren't racing. And then when we came back to racing, we were racing without fans, and every one of our partners had the same challenge. And so also very proud that through that journey, we didn't lose any partners. We worked with all of our partners. They all worked with us. And I think at the end of the day, while it's absolutely tragic, obviously, what happened from a business standpoint, I actually think we are a healthier business today going through that specific challenge because it forced us to make some tough decisions.
What sort of decisions, Zak?
The size and shape of an organization and how can you get maximum efficiency out of the team that you have. Decision-making process, I mean, it really sharpened up the organization and then the industry. The sport did a great job of jumping on the situation. And I think if I look at where McLaren is now and where the sport is, it's extremely healthy. And I think some of the decisions that we had to make during that period were some good long-term decisions. There were some difficult short-term decisions, but I think some long-term benefit.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same for so many people that experienced it because we didn't know what to expect, did we, during that time, during the pandemic? What about for you, Jette, in your business? Because Entain has just gone from strength to strength. So how have you coped with any challenges that you've been faced with over the years?
So I think the biggest challenge, that something that I grapple with probably every single day, is that our industry and our business is just undergoing, change so fast. Especially through the last 5 years, it's almost been exponential. So some of our brands, you can date them back to the late 1800s, right? And that was the betting shops where they started that time. So obviously a lot have happened since then. And then when you think about today, where media and entertainment and sport and betting and gaming come together, and a lot of that is powered by technology and data. So from my side, I need to think about how can we be successful now, but also how can we be successful in the future, understanding that when technology evolves, it will ultimately change consumer behaviors. That could impact your business model. There are new expectations from society in terms of how we do business. So for me, it's all about thinking about how can I make sure that we are successful now, but also how are we successful in the future, and doing that at the same time where you have a business to run, right? So that can be quite challenging, and I think part of that is of course trying to understand how technology impacts your industry, but also think about smart decisions and the timing and when to execute it. So challenging for sure, but I think, listen, maintaining status quo is not a strategy. At least it's not the right strategy, and it's risky just to maintain status quo. So I think you need to think about how you move the business forward, and that's fun, especially when you, like I do, believe in change and also have a vision about leading that change for our industry. But it is a challenge, and it's something that's on the agenda every single day.
I bet it is. And in similar fashion to what Zak said about with the pandemic, changes that happened actually now, they've still sort of kept implementing now. Has that been the same for you? Are there any changes that came about that you've stuck with?
It has, because when you are stuck at home, literally there were two things that you could do. Part of the COVID, you couldn't watch sport on TV, right? So a lot of people started playing new games. New games became popular. So that makes us think about, how do we take that forward? New audiences suddenly that we had access to. So women were at home. How can we develop games that appeal to women and so forth? So we saw consumer behaviors change, and we're trying to make sure that we address that in our business going forward.
Now, you've both mentioned technology a number of times. So let's talk a bit more about technology, and how have you kept up with how technology has been evolving and kept in touch with it in terms of your business?
Well, technology touches really every part of our business, right? So there's the technology on the race cars and Formula One's cutting edge technology. So what we're developing there around sustainability technologies, around safety, crash structures, obviously performance. So there's that side of technology. Then there's fan engagement. This is where we work closely with Entain and our partners that talk to millions of consumers. We used to broadcast the sport to people, and it was kind of a one-way communication, and you'd kind of find out at a later date via TV ratings or merchandise sales or, studies how you did 6 months ago. Now the fans can tell you lap by lap, and they do, how you're doing, what they like, what they don't like. And so technology's enabled us to have a kind of a two-way, really live, instantaneous conversation. And we do that directly ourselves, and then we do that through our consumer brand partners. Then, of course, there's technology on just ways of working and working efficiently, and database, and email communications and texting and WhatsApp and those sorts of technologies. So I think technology cuts across everything we do, whether it's how we engage with the fan, develop our race cars, work with our employees, work with and for our partners.
And same for you. I mean, technology is at the heart of what you do at Entain. But how have you managed to keep adapting as the technology keeps growing and advancing, I guess?
Yeah, so technology powers everything we do. We have 7,000 people that works in technology and ops across the world. So it is, as you say, it's the breathing heart of everything that we do. So for us, I think it's part of thinking about technology and how it can enable us to create better products for our customers, more excitement, but we also use technology to protect our players. So it's not only about, you could say, how do we excite the fans, but also how do we think forward in terms of how can we protect them using new technology, AI-powered ways of being real-time, shielding them from any harm that they could get into. So for me, when I think about technology, it's about how we evolve the business, how we constantly innovate, how we do that in a way that both excites our customers, but also strengthens our business going forward, because it's such a fundamental part of everything we do in our business. We have technology hubs across the world. We're constantly thinking about new places that we set up technology hubs, because you need to develop your capabilities. So it's critical for our business. We invest in it all the time. And I think as a CEO for a business like mine, and probably also for Zak, you need to embrace technology, and you need to be pretty tech savvy in order to lead companies.
Have you both always been tech savvy?
I was just going to say I'm not tech savvy, but I got a lot of tech savvy people around me. Yeah, I'm okay when it comes to the communication side of technology, but you don't want me designing anything that goes on the race car.
What about you? Have you always had that interest in technology?
I'm pretty tech savvy. Yes, absolutely. And I think it helps when you try to think like a CTO and CIO. Listen, I'm no expert. I also surround myself with the best people. But you need to be able to ask the right questions. And I think the key thing for me is understanding technology to the extent that you understand how it might change your fans or your consumers' behaviors going forward. Because ultimately that can lead to changes to your business model. And as a CEO, you really need to stay on top of that. So that's really how I view technology. What does it mean for our business? How can we move the business forward? How can we use AI in a way that not only creates better products for our customers, but also better protection for our people? Maybe it also helps us with efficiencies around the businesses. So think about technology in the way that it can be adapted for your business and for your customers.
Such a good point there. Now, you both know each other very well, and there is a relationship and partnership between Entain and McLaren Racing. Talk to me, Zak, about how that came about.
And Jette and I have known each other for some time. We've built a fantastic relationship. She's a great supporter. We got started a few years ago, and if you look at our partner base, it's kind of 75% B2B and 25% consumer brands. And that's kind of how the sport has historically been. And I think one of the reasons is prior to the new ownership, now Liberty Media, who are 5-6 years into owning the sport, it was a broadcast. And while we have and always have had hundreds of millions, billions of viewers over the course of a season, I don't think the sport has been great historically in engaging with the fans. We've been fortunate that our sport's so exciting that we kind of retain the fans without really being as good to them as I think other sports, an NFL or baseball or football, pick a sport where it's a real fan-centric sport. And when I came in, Liberty came in at the same time. I'm a huge fan of motorsports, and I know the impression everything that's been made on me over the years, whether I met a driver or got access to a team. And so I tried to take an approach of opening up McLaren and letting people on the inside. And where that ties back to Jette and Entain is our B2B partners are awesome, and they help us make our car go faster. But I also wanted to dial up the consumer brands that we're associated with, because they're the ones that are going to help us drive real engagement with our fans, bring in new fans, more diverse fans from around the world. And so the partnership's been very exciting for us because it's a similar type of demographic and psychographic as far as an Entain consumer and a McLaren fan. And so that's been a real effort for us, is to bring more consumer brands in. And I think now that the sport is more inclusive with things like Netflix, I think it's attracted consumer brands that haven't been around before. So that's why we're trying to lead the charge. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if we can keep our fans happy, engaged, and bringing new fans in, then the rest of the ecosystem starts to take care of itself. And so we lean into our partners like Entain to help us increase our fan base.
Yeah, and I guess fans are at the heart of what you both do, so they're the most important. So what is it that makes the partnership work so well, Jette?
So it started, well, we're now a couple of years into our partnership, and you know, I think about how media and entertainment and sport and betting come together. And at Entain, a lot of our customers are McLaren Formula One fans. So first and foremost, it enables us really to, you know, bring extremely exciting new experience to them that they would never be able to experience in their lifetime. So that, I would say, was probably the first step of the partnerships, really leaning into the whole fan experience. But I would say, secondly, I think we found out maybe along the way that our approach to business is actually quite similar, right? We are both technology companies. We are led by innovation. We are focused on responsibility, safety, the broader picture of sustainability, and fundamentally we are entertainment companies, right? And we want to excite fans, and I think those common denominators then enables us to think a little bit broader than exciting fans, but also think about initiatives that we've launched. The Entain McLaren Returnship Program, which is, you know, sits outside of what Zak and I do day to day, but it's trying to address, you know, an issue that we're both facing in our businesses. And I think we can only do that because there are so many common denominators across our business.
Actually, you mentioned the Returnship initiative. I've been reading about it. I think it's unbelievable. It's brilliant. I think all organisations should have something like it. Tell us, for those people that don't know what it is, what it actually is about.
Yeah, so we wanted to address you could say, the challenge that we and many organizations face, that we lack women in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And we see a big drop-off from, you know, education and into women actually pursuing a career in STEM. And as I said, we have 7,000 people working in technology and ops, and therefore I can't miss out of 50% of the talent pool. And what we saw was that there was a lot of barriers, not only entering into or staying in STEM careers, but also getting back. So if you've been out on maternity leave, just getting back in to some of these jobs. So this is, you could say, our attempt to try to address that issue. So we bring in women, we give them an intern program either at McLaren Formula One or at Entain. We give them coaching and training and so forth. And hopefully that inspires them to come back into some great jobs in STEM, maybe even at McLaren or Entain.
Wow, it's such a great initiative because so many women in any industry, I feel, I mean, I've just had a baby 4 months ago, and I think that for many women it's quite daunting going back into work. So to help stagger that process or to help them get back into it is such a great thing to do. How has it been working for you from McLaren Racing perspective?
It's been awesome. It's a big priority for us. I mean, when you talk about these partnerships and we talk about the fans as number one priority, but actually having a great workforce is going to give your fans a better experience. So they're all tied into making the world a better place, providing opportunities, making both of our companies better. Our workforce is about 20% underrepresented, and that's climbing. We'd like to double that by the end of the decade. Personally, I like having diversity of thought, so whether that's religion or what country you're from or what gender you are, what age you are, I think that diversity of thinking makes better input and therefore better output. And so I'm very proud of what we're doing together and providing opportunities. We have a few people in here now that have working for us. I believe you have the same over at Entain, and finding good people is hard. And I think part of what we need to do is provide opportunities and give people the confidence to go for it, and they'll benefit from it, and we'll benefit from it, and ultimately the fan will benefit from it because we'll put together better opportunities that better the workforce that we have.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I guess with the fact that you mentioned with those in those STEM careers, you said that after studying, there's sometimes a drop-off rate between studying the subject and then going into that particular career. Why do you think that happens?
Well, I think it's multifaceted. So, you have the general biases in society, education, role models, or rather lack of role models, lack of access to the networks that exist around, that exist in the workplace. So I think what we're trying to do is help overcome those barriers, because fundamentally I think that we need to provide platforms where women want to be in STEM careers, where they can thrive, where they feel comfortable, and make sure that it's not a rule book that is written for and by men. So I think that's part of it, helping women come back in, make them excited, and hopefully, we can also inspire young girls and young women to get more into education. So what we see is that in the UK, 35% of all STEM students in higher education are women, but that drops to 24% when you look at women that actually stays in STEM careers. And if you look across the globe, you will see that number maybe even lower in some countries. That's just such a loss of talent, right? So I think where it makes total business sense to have a diverse and inclusive workplace, I just can't see that we can afford losing out of half the talent pool.
I think conversations like this and hearing from two powerful leaders within the industry is so helpful as well for anyone that's watching this. Talking about equality and diversity, which is, I think, something we talk about so much more than ever, which is, again, a really good thing. Why is it important in your industry, Zak?
Well, I think for the reasons I just mentioned, outlined before, diversity of thought, perspective, experience, because I think if you look through a single lens, you're a bit naive as to how the world kind of takes in what you're providing as an experience, what people want out of a workplace. People are all different in what gets them excited and what motivates them, and so I think you got to have diversity of thought and contribution to be able to make sure, because all of our fans, all of our employees, different things get them excited, and so you want to be able to kind of customize as much as you possibly can, and that's where you use technology, customize the experience for your fan or for your employee, and it's not a one size fits all. So if you're only looking at something through one lens, you're going to get kind of one output, and I think you're going to alienate a lot of people out there.
I think what gets discussed quite a lot in my industry, in the media, is that you have a lot of diversity happening at sort of the lower levels, but as you climb up the tree and you get to those that are in decision-making positions, there's not enough diversity. Have you come across that in your industry, and how are Entain changing that as well? Obviously, you're a great example in itself. But
yeah, but there are not that many of us, right? And I think it is a real problem. So I fully agree. The more you can make the workplace diverse and inclusive, the better. And it is that diversity of thought and making sure that you see things from different angles that are so important. So for me, it's a real priority. I know I have a platform. I'm happy to use it, so I encourage better representation in the workplace. It's not only about women, it's about gender and religion and sexual orientation and so forth. And we try to address all of these areas. one of the things that we've done is to establish networks within our business, not led by me, but led by people that have common interests. So whether that's women networks, or whether that's pride networks, or whether that's black professional networks, and they get together and can discuss and have open conversations about what are the barriers that they are seeing, and then we make sure that we listen and follow up on that. But we have the same challenge as you see in most companies. We actually, I think we're doing really well in terms of diversity on a global level. So almost 50% of our employees are women. In technology, it's 33%. I think industry average is 16-17%. But when you get closer to the top, then the numbers don't look like that. So it's clear that we have work to do. And I think the best thing we can do is to come together. There's so much we can do, of course, as companies, but when companies like ours come together, hopefully we can start to change things.
Okay, and on a final note, how does all of this tie into your shared organisational values, and how does that also tie into your personal approach?
Jette?
I can start, yeah. I think, so shared values, I think we have a common approach to technology and innovation. So none of our organizations could exist without technology and the understanding of massive amount of data, whether you need to have the best performing car or develop the best digital entertainment. When it comes to values, we certainly share values around safety, responsibility, and sustainability. And then it's all about the fans. And that is for us as well. Being an entertainment company and understanding that you create excitement for fans and customers out there. Now, for me personally, throughout my career and in everything I do, I believe in doing the right thing, whether it's for the customer or for colleagues or for communities. And therefore, I also believe in having partners where you have shared values, because I think we can do so much more. And I think the returnship program is an example of that when you have shared values as partners, then you can get together on other things as well.
Anything you want to add to that, Zak?
Oh, I would just build on that because everything Jette said is absolutely spot on. I think one of your other questions was kind of how to, us personally as CEOs, and I think you have to clearly lead by example, and you can't lead a company that has one set of values if you have a different set of values. That wouldn't make for a good leadership. So I think everything that the company wants to achieve, McLaren wants to achieve, I believe in individually, and therefore it's kind of easy to lead by example because I live and breathe everything that we're trying to accomplish, and I know that's the same with Jette.
Brilliant stuff. It's been so fascinating hearing from you both. We're now going to have a bit of fun. Quick fire round questions. You up for it? You ready for it? Absolutely. Good. Okay. So, Zak, first of all, what's your most entertaining moment or memory from Formula One?
Winning Monza in 2021.
You might say that. And what about for you?
Oh, well, I have to say the same thing. Yeah, it was electric. So, if you guys out there don't know, Monza 2021, McLaren took the 1 and 2 positions at the podium. Sun was shining. It's just a brilliant track, despite it being Ferrari land. We had the pleasure of bringing some customers there as well, and they were just over the moon. Yeah, that was really special.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, besides the obvious, what is your favorite sport and why?
Baseball. I grew up playing it, and I wanted to be a baseball player.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I love baseball.
And how far did you get along in that?
Through high school, and then I kind of...
Still watch it now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
And what about for you, Jette?
I'm pretty much interested in most sports, maybe except baseball, but yeah, I would have to say football, right? But also American football, so NFL. I love basketball, the NBA. I played basketball until I was 13. I was a brilliant point guard. And then everyone started growing and I didn't. So that ended that career. But listen, Wimbledon has just started. We have a 20-year-old Danish guy called Holger Rune, who is 6th ranking. So I'm going to watch him play on grass. I'm rooting for him. As a business, we have the Women's World Cup coming up, so lots to do.
Play any other sports other than basketball?
Yeah, I played something called badminton. Yeah, you know, the little feather ball. I played tennis, played handball. I played it all, but I love basketball. So unfortunately, I didn't grow any taller, so didn't happen for me.
So if you had to pick one icon from the world of sport, who would it be, Zak, and why?
For me, it would be Roger Penske. He started off racing career, built an unbelievable business out of his racing business, so he really understood how to leverage from a kind of a sponsorship standpoint a racing team to build a business. He's one of the largest car dealers now in the world, publicly traded company. Surrounded himself with great people. He's 84, 85 years old, and he doesn't miss a race. He's a total racer, and also knows how to use his business to build his racing team. So driver, team owner, races everything, 85 years old, still going strong, and has built a business and a racing team off of each other's platforms. So I'd have to say the captain is what we call him, would be my inspiration.
Ticks all the boxes there, hey? Brilliant stuff. What about for you, Jette?
Am I going to get into trouble if I don't mention Zak and his racing career at this point? I'm going to take this in another direction then, and I'm going to say Serena Williams.
Oh.
23 Grand Slam single titles, 14 double titles with Venus, 319 weeks at the top of the world ranking. I mean, she's just such an icon and an athlete, you know, a role model, and you think about what she had to go through and being held to different standards. So next to Zak, of course, I would say Serena Williams.
Brilliant, yeah, that's a great one actually. And what about in terms of your competitiveness? Who is the most competitive out of the two of you? Go on, Jette, you can answer that one first.
I'm pretty sure that during race days, Zak's pulse will get to a level that is way higher than where my pulse sit when I go into the office on a normal Monday morning. But having said that, I have, you know, an enormous competitive gene. I hate to lose. I don't accept mediocrity. I'm probably a little bit of a perfectionist. You know, I'm really passionate about what I do, and therefore I want to win, and I want to see my teams win.
And it really shows. So what do you think?
I would not want to get into a scrap with you.
No. Ever played a game of tennis against each other or
No.
racing?
And it doesn't sound like I want to play on basketball either.
No, definitely not. Do you know what? I could carry on talking to you both for hours. It's been so fascinating. Thank you very much. I'm being told I have to wrap things up now. So thank you for your company. Good luck with the rest of the season. Good luck with Entain. And thank you very much once again for your time.
Thanks for having us on.